Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching today and welcome to our very first speed build video with Prehistoric Kingdom. So if you guys are new here, Prehistoric Kingdom is a dinosaur park simulation game with a modular building system, and I am so excited to get my hands on this closed beta. Now, before we get too far into the video, I do want to say, in calling it a closed beta, that is because you would have had to have been an early adopter or early backer in order to have your hands on the game at this stage in its development. So I get asked that question quite a lot from people watching my videos, asking how they can get their hands on the game, and unfortunately you will have to wait until early access, which I believe as of right now is scheduled for April of 2022. So hopefully it will stay on schedule and we will see an early access come to us in April of next year. But for now, this game is a closed beta. So if you're not new to the channel, you'll remember that we did cover some of this in the alpha stages of the game. We built a few habitats, and I am very excited to say that the improvements made between alpha and beta are amazing. The game overall just feels a lot smoother to me. I felt it was a lot easier for me to build. One of the main things being that they added the edge scrolling and an undo button. So in alpha, they didn't have edge scrolling and I had to zoom the map around using WASD, and I don't actually use those keys almost ever except for lining up like screenshots sometimes, but when I'm building and playing, I like to use the edge scrolling to kind of move my map around. So it was a bit difficult for me to get a hold of in alpha, and it made my build process really slow, and it kind of got frustrating just for me personally because I'm used to being able to build at a certain rate and kind of make my ideas come to fruition, and I just wasn't able to do that. And the fact that we have an undo button is really, really helpful for me this time. If I make mistakes, I can try stuff. If I don't like it, I can just hit undo, redo, and bring it back. I can kind of toggle between two different ideas really easily. Super, super, super happy about the undo button. Other than that, we did get a whole lot of new scenery pieces in in beta that we did not have in alpha. So I'm kind of sort of testing a couple of those out. But really, honestly, these textures that you're seeing here that I just made this circle out of were already available in alpha. I just like them so much that I decided I wanted to reuse them. The habitat that we are building today is for a woolly mammoth, and there was no question. When I first saw the 14 animals that were included in the beta, I absolutely wanted to build for the woolly mammoth first. It is my favorite of the 14. However, it's not my favorite of all of the animals that they have introduced. All of the animals look absolutely amazing, but I am most excited for the Smilodon. They've kind of teased that one here and there, and I cannot wait until it comes out in early access, hopefully sometime next year in like April, I think they have it scheduled for right now. Cannot wait to get my hands on that. But as you can see here, putting down all these modular pieces and using the same sort of circular symmetry that you would be used to in playing other games like Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster, where you can build modularly and kind of build everything from the ground up. So I wanted to do something fairly simple. I will say this is not an overly complicated habitat, but it is something that did not take me super long. I was actually really surprised to see that this kind of simple, basic habitat really only took me maybe like an hour, maybe a little over an hour. I actually built this the morning after it launched. I got to go into work late and I didn't have to be there until like 10:45. So I woke up and I spent a couple hours on my computer, and I knocked this out in about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so. The fact that things are scalable, one, really makes building a lot easier, but two, really cuts down on the time in the sense that you can kind of just stretch something and you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time duplicating it over and over and over again. As you can see that I've done here with the floor pieces. So these floor pieces that we're making the bridge out of are the exact same pieces that are around the perimeter of the circle. I've just kind of stretched them to make them a little bit longer so that they kind of, so that they're longer, I guess. I don't really know where I was going with that sentence. You guys get the point. Stretching things makes it longer. Yes, we love it. So the scaling makes it much, much easier to build things, but also the terrain tools that they have, the foliage that they have, the fact that you can use this brush to kind of paint foliage. You'll see later in the video, I take one of the brushes and I paint a whole bunch of trees as like the backdrop. Didn't have to place those individually. I was able to kind of just brush all of them over, and super quick and easy, and it looks fantastic. Something that they did add to the beta as well is that you can use that brush, but then it actually ends up painting modular trees. So if you want to go back and adjust it individually and make different trees, either delete certain trees or add new trees or whatever, just kind of adjust it and make it a little bit more customized, you can. And I think that that is awesome as well. Almost everything that we can build with is flexi colored, and you know we love that as well. So I didn't really go crazy with the flexi colored. Again, this habitat build is going to be my kind of first dipping my toe into what we can do, right? I do have some bigger, better plans for future habitats, but I really just wanted to see what I could do if I could make a simple kind of habitat design that I had in my head come to life in here. So that's what we are doing. Now, one thing that I do want to do, if you guys are familiar with my Planet Zoo videos, you'll know I absolutely love to talk about the animals that we're building for. And I really honestly want to do that for the prehistoric ones as well. Again, if you guys are not new to my channel, you'll know I actually work with animals. I studied animals in my undergrad, and I have my bachelor's degree in ecology. So I know a fair bit amount of information about extant animals, but not really about extinct ones. So I did pull up some information here. It is from, let me see, it is from the National Park Service on woolly mammoths, and I just kind of want to read a little bit of it to learn. I guess we can learn together. Now, I will say this is something I am completely unfamiliar with, so if you have a fact or something that you know that I've mentioned or that I forgot to mention, or something that I have phrased weird or information that I got wrong, please let me know down below. I would be very interested to hear on what facts you know about the woolly mammoths, anything that I can learn. I'm actually really interested to kind of dive deeper into prehistoric animal information. But let's go ahead and get to it. The first little part is just talking about their modern relatives. So it says the woolly mammoth, scientific name Mammothus primigenius? Mammothus primigenius, I think that's how you say it, is related to the modern African and Asian elephants. Makes total sense to me. They look very much like they would be related. Let's see. In fact, all three are belonging to the same subfamily and are believed to have originated from Africa from a common ancestor that came from there. Very cool. Okay, so very self-explanatory, I think, or I guess very obvious to explain a little better. Woolly mammoths definitely look like elephants to me. Moving on a little bit to their diet and their appearance and behavior, the Ice Age woolly mammoth, in contrast to its present-day African and Asian cousins, was strictly an herbivorous grazer, as it could no doubt be found consuming bunches upon bunches of grass and vegetation, with tusks weighing next to 200 pounds. Oh my goodness. Each of which measuring well over 12 feet in length. The woolly mammoth was as important a species in Ice Age Alaska as any. That is really honestly the extent of my information on woolly mammoths, is the fact that they were in Ice Age, and its name is Manny. That's really all I know about woolly mammoths. So really cool. I could have assumed that they were herbivores, and being that they're related to elephants, so very cool. Looking very much like a short elephant with a shaggy coat of insulating hair, the woolly mammoth had droopy hindquarters that eventually culminated to a dome-shaped skull topped with a tuft of hair. While its back end had a tiny hairy tail, there would be no reason to have a long tail in such a cold climate such as Ice Age Alaska. Definitely makes sense. Its front end supports a trunk that was split at the tip. Like the thumb and fingers of your hand, the trunk would easily grab the clumps of vegetation that could be found underfoot. Some postulate that the mammoth may have also used its very same technique to put snow in its mouth for water. Oh, very cool. Both sexes carried a pair of ivory tusks, which among other things were used to display status and fitness. As has been observed amongst the behaviors of modern elephants, woolly mammoths are also believed to have engaged in heated physical battles, often leading to fatal injuries. Evidence for this may in fact be shown in the fossil record, seeing as how many fossilized mammoth tusks have been found broken, shattered, or worn. Though this is by no means any direct proof of such behavior. Very cool. I know that's probably one of the hardest things, about extinct animals, is really kind of studying or understanding their behavior and their mannerisms, because we can really only tell so much from fossils and stuff, right? We kind of have to piece together and fill in some blank spots. But very cool. So there's not too much more information on there. It's a very basic website. So again, if you guys have best places to find information and you want to share those with me, I would be super grateful, because again, I know a lot about how to research and find out information on currently living animals, modern day animals, but when it comes to extinct animals, that's really kind of out of the realm of my knowledge base. But I'm really excited to learn. So please do help me out. Moving back onto the habitat here, so as you can see, we've moved on to rocks and foliage and all the nature stuff that I like the best. Now, I will say I was thinking, and in the information it sounds like that woolly mammoths were from kind of Alaska, like northern areas, so I was thinking more like alpine, and that biome in Prehistoric Kingdom is not actually available yet. So I think a lot of the trees and stuff that I was using belong technically to the scrubland or the temperate. I was trying to pick out different trees that looked more like taiga, alpine-y, because I'm pretty sure that's kind of the habitat that woolly mammoths are in. And it did mention, Alaska in the information. So I'm pretty sure that that's where they're from. Although you can see how helpful the scaling aspect of the game actually comes into play, whereas this branch or this tree that I'm placing right now, this bush, is actually a tree that I've squished down and made into a bush and like low-lying foliage. So not only can you still sink them into the ground, but you can also squish them and make them kind of flat or bigger, however you want them to be. And it makes it really easy to take trees and make them into bushes, and really honestly vice versa. You could kind of stretch out a bush, I guess, and make it look more, I guess you could make it tree sized, make it look more like a tree. So it just makes all the pieces super universal and really easy to use. And the limits are basically endless on what you can do, because you really need to push yourself and think outside the box on not what the item says it is, but what it looks like, what you can use it for, things like that. The last thing that I'm adding to the habitat is a little bit of shade for our guests as they walk out onto these platforms. And that is another thing that I wanted to mention, in that in Prehistoric Kingdom, you can place down paths and the guests will walk on them, but you can also place down these scenery objects and the guests will walk on them. So in the cinematics, you might see some guests that are walking out onto these viewing platforms. There's not a path underneath there. You guys watched me build these from scratch, from these little modular pieces. I did not go back and like add a path or do anything like that. They're just able to traverse on top of these modular pieces just as they are, which makes it really easy to make things like custom bridges and custom viewing platforms and all that kind of stuff that you wouldn't normally get to, because you might have to like hide a path in there or get the path to even work if it'll just lay down where you want it to, that kind of thing. So in the end cinematics, like I said, you'll be able to see the guests actually do go out there, which I think is phenomenal. Really, really cool that they can do that. I'm excited to kind of test the limits of that and see what I can do. The very last thing I'm going to do in this video was see how well I could stretch and use these pieces to my advantage, I guess. So we're making a little woolly mammoth sign here. And what I love about this is we can take these massive letters, as you can see, shrink them down so that we make them real small. I'm going to spell out woolly mammoth and then the scientific name as well, and actually have like real informational signs here with teeny tiny text. It is time consuming. It's tedious, but it's super worth the effect that you get from it. I think it turns out looking fantastic. And I even found they have these like little decals too. I'll add it on there in just a minute, of the like forest and stuff. So I added it as if it's just like a little picture of like the woolly mammoth's habitat. And the little sign turns out really cool. The only thing I wish is that we had like workshop functionality already and that I could throw this up there so that you guys could use it. I think that's kind of the only bummer of the game right now, is that I can't actually share anything. But rest assured, when I am able to, I will absolutely start sharing some of my creations with you guys, just like we do with some other games. So on here, just kind of spelling everything out, and then I'll shrink down the scientific name even more, because if you also select multiple pieces, you can shrink/stretch them together. So you can see here I've selected the entire scientific name and I'm shrinking the entire thing down. So this makes it incredibly easy to get super detailed with things, and I actually honestly can't wait to see what some more talented builders than myself actually do with the game, because I'm the opportunities are endless. The ideas are endless. I don't end up putting some like real information on this sign, in that I don't actually spend the time to like type out actual facts. I'm just gonna go ahead and rotate one of the eyes in the name and use it as lines, as implied text. But if you wanted to, you could type out like a whole paper and then shrink it down and put it on one of these signs. Like, it's incredible what you can do. But this is the little decal here that I was talking about in putting that on the sign as like the woolly mammoth's habitat. You know, this is kind of a general sign you'd find in any like zoo or animal park, just kind of telling you about the animal. And I think it adds a nice little touch, nice little detail to the habitat. I'm pretty proud of it. This was like my one super detailed thing that I wanted to try to accomplish in this build, just to see if I could do it. And I'm pretty happy with it. I'm happy with how it comes out. Anyway, there is not too much more in the video. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you did make it this far in the video, consider leaving a like down below. It really does help me out, and I greatly do appreciate it. If you're interested in any more Prehistoric Kingdom information or content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I will definitely keep it coming at ya. There are some end cinematics, very short ones, but I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk at you in the next video. Bye!